And on the buck stops here, our newsmaker tonight, Farooq Abdullah, former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, the National Conference chairperson and the party's candidate for the Srinagar by-poll that saw just 7% polling yesterday. 8 people killed in the poll violence, hundreds injured on the day that marked some of the worst violence during polling that the valley has ever seen. Dr. Abdullah, from 26% voting in 2014 Lok Sabha polls to just 7% yesterday, the lowest turnout in 27 years. What is your response to this? Is this a failure of mainstream politics?
I think it's a failure of the government to protect people from coming out to poll. Let's make one thing very clear. In 2014, when I stood for this election, we had over 29% of voting without anybody dying. Today, in 2 years, can you imagine? We have gone to 6%. Shows the anger of the people against the present dispensation in Jammu and Kashmir. And I think that is worrying. It is worrying that we have lost in a democratic election 8 young people and many more seriously injured in the hospital. And God knows how many others.
But are you saying, sir, that the owners...
This is tragedy for the Indian democracy. If we don't wake up now...
Yes.
Yes, if we don't wake up now, please, I don't know where we are heading.
But isn't every mainstream party, Dr. Abdullah, including the National Conference, to blame for this total disenchantment among voters? Can you only blame the ruling dispensation when there is a 7% turnout?
No, our people were coming out. And I know of some of the places where people went and the doors were locked. The protecting people were inside the room, just sitting down and not opening the doors for people to come and vote. This was the situation. And I'm quite confident what happened was created by the present government.
Now,
they paid many people to destroy this election.
You're saying the government paid people.
I don't only blame.
You are saying the PDP, BJP government obstructed these polls, Dr. Abdullah.
Yes, number of places where they knew we are going to get the votes. They obstructed people from coming out. They created a situation like this. I have no doubt about it.
But
time will prove me right that what happened.
But Dr. Abdullah, violence the likes of which we haven't seen in years. Polling booths have been torched, sir, petrol bombs thrown. What about all the people who refuse to participate in this electoral exercise? Can you blame it all on the present state government? You've been a former chief minister, so has your son. There are levels of anger and alienation that we are now seeing, the likes of which we have not seen before.
Don't you know, when the parliamentary delegation came to Kashmir under the leadership of the Home Minister Rajnath Singh ji, many promises were made at that time by the parliamentary members as well as the government at that time. Did they do anything about it, about the youth, the alienation in the youth? Have they taken any step in trying to talk to parties that are there, who they promised that they would talk to all the stakeholders, and also that they will talk to Pakistan for the final settlement of the question of Jammu and Kashmir? Did they do that?
Farooq Abdullah,
don't blame us for where your failures are.
All right, a lot of people would say that all mainstream parties are equally to blame or perhaps equally responsible for the state in which Jammu and Kashmir sees itself now. But I want to ask you, will you ask the Election Commission, which has now postponed the Anantnag polls, will you ask the EC to declare the Srinagar by-poll invalid? Or will you accept?
But who am I to say, well, shall we accept or not accept? The electoral officer has declared that this is the percentage of poll.
And if you win, will you accept this result, even if it's just 80,000 people who've cast their vote out of a total electorate of over 12 lakhs?
Let's see. Why are you jumping the gun? Let the result come out. Then my party will sit down, we'll discuss what our future plan is.
But the fact that the Election Commission has now postponed the Anantnag polls to the 25th of May, is this going to be seen as a win for the separatists and a failure of both the state and the central government?
I think it's a failure of the present dispensation that is there. And the center is involved with that state dispensation. It is absolutely their failure. They could not give safety to many people who wanted to vote. And they targeted the areas where our voters had to come out. They targeted those areas.
You're making a very serious charge here, Dr. Farooq Abdullah. You're saying that the present dispensation in the state actually stopped voters from voting.
I am still standing to the charge I have made. I am not afraid of anyone except God.
All right, Dr. Farooq Abdullah, newsmaker on the buck stops here tonight, setting up really this debate.